Welcome back, Golly Vibes family. I pray everybody's doing well. Amen. For those who are here for the first time, welcome. For those who are faithful viewers, welcome back. So a couple of days ago, Friday, in fact, I posted some clips that Candace Owens put in her story, right? She put in her story, his father having turned him in after a confession is also complete fiction. By the way, for those who don't know what this is about the Charlie Kirk assassination, which she has been investigating ever since he was assassinated. Nobody else has been. In fact, she said something about the fact that nobody else has been. Let me go ahead and play that clip real quick before we even go into what we're about to go into with Suspicious Phil and different things, even about the parents not believing the front story. Yeah, I know, mind blowing. But check out what she even thinks about her being the only one investigating this.
I want to assert here that I'm uncomfortable with the fact that despite all of the friends that Charlie Kirk made, all the schmoozing that he did, presidents, right, department heads, I am the only person that is publicly demanding further investigation into his assassination. Why? It's totally rubbing me the wrong way. Something's not right here. Even Turning Point USA, they're just like, we've accepted. Like, obviously, there are holes in this narrative, and they're just like, we're gonna just keep up his show. What is going on, actually? I just want to say that and get that off of my chest. I don't like it. It's rubbing me the wrong way.
Not only that, guys, but people like this in her position, doing what she's doing, they try to make crazy. They try to make them look like they're crazy. But I never thought Candace was crazy. I just thought Candace was heartbroken. Her very close friend passed away that she was very close to, held near and dear, and he passed away, and the story wasn't lining up. It's clear to see that the story's not lining up for anybody, though. So if the story's not lining up, and it's clear to see, why is she the only friend investigating? Why is she the only person really looking into the story further, the assassination further than what it was? In fact, her investigation got Kash Patel saying he's going to look into it further. Look into the conspiracy theories. Look into where the bullet was really coming from. This is the director of the FBI saying he's going to look into it further. Why? Because people like Candace Owens wouldn't give up. But where was Charlie's close friends in TPUS? Where's everybody else telling her to be quiet? Where were they at? That's what she's saying. That's what she's asking. I don't know what they're doing, really. We haven't seen them on the front line like we've seen CO. We know that for a fact. Maybe they just don't want to look crazy. Maybe they want to put themselves in a predicament where they can, get in trouble, where they can get unalived. But CO doesn't seem to care. CO don't seem to give two hoots whether she lives or goes. She's like, yo, y'all take my friend who I love dearly. It's up. And it's going to stay up until some truth comes out. To the point where even Kash Patel said, all right. He even admitted he wasn't even a part of the main investigation. But now he's jumping into it. So she wrote Friday on her story. I'm only going to read two things that she wrote. His father, having turned him in after a confession, is also complete fiction. It's not true. They lied about it. Okay. And this is Candace saying she has a source that she doesn't want to give up or the name to for safety. To the contrary, Tyler Robinson maintains his innocence and has never even been to the UVU campus. There are absolutely zero photos or video that the campus can produce to the contrary. You know who's also on this story now? What's his name? Alex. Man, what's his name? Alex Jones. That's his name, right? Alex Jones. He's also digging into this now, saying he believes that Tyler may have been in an MK Ultra completely. That's his take, though, right? Not saying it's true, but that's his take from what we know so far. She also put, which is why they have produced nothing other than a blurry image which Tyler's face which Tyler's family, knows is not him. So his family knows that the picture that they gave to the public, which they didn't give a video, it's clearly photos taken out of surveillance video. Why didn't they just give the video? Y'all telling on yourself. Y'all done told on yourself. Not only that, but a whole rifle was in the bushes. But when they showed the video of a guy running and jumping off the building, there was nothing with him. Not only that, but we've seen a professional video of somebody who was disassembling a rifle when it took over a minute. But yet, as soon as the shot ran out, the kid ran. As soon as that happened, there was no disassembling anything. So many people are saying that gun was already in the bushes. It was a setup. Anyways, Tyler has never once expressed a suicidal thought. I want to make that clear. The federal government is lying. Now, this is the part I want to show you. The federal government is lying. That's a bold statement. That alone can get you in jail. You realize that? The federal government is lying about absolutely everything, other than the fact that is his gun. Now, why was she saying he's not suicidal and then go down to the federal government is lying? Well, she has a video where she shows a sheriff talking about how he's suicidal. Actually, an episode that we did, we talked about how he was saying that he wanted to take his own life. But they got him just in time. Like, they fed us all kind of different narratives. They couldn't even keep their own story straight. So she went to a source, or she has a source, that clearly is close to the family if it's not the family. To the point where she could say things that the parents believe. Isn't it interesting? She talked to Lance Twig's family, which was Tyler's boyfriend. By the way, Tyler's parents didn't know that he was gay. But she talked to his family. His family said that he was crazy. Didn't really get along with him. And now she's getting some kind of connection with Tyler Robinson's family. How hasn't the FBI gotten in contact with their family? Anyways, this is what she had to say about the parents not believing the story that we have been given.
His father does not believe, his parents don't believe that their son committed this crime. I was like, huh? Excuse me? That's a far cry from what the media has been telling us. Remember, the media presented this amazing story. The father realized his son was guilty, so it goes, right? And then...
Hold on, wait a minute. Not only that, guys, but it was said that his father was offered over $1 million and gave it back to Charlie's team or something like that. Didn't take it. Like, what's good? Like, how much stuff?
He phoned over a friend to help him convince his son to turn himself in, because this guy, this mysterious guy was a friend and just had a connection with Tyler. And eventually they said, you've got to do the right thing here. We know this is you. That was the vibe. Certainly that's what the media was putting down for us to pick up. Well, I was told actually that it was kind of the opposite. That quote unquote family friend, who we learned was a former detective with the police force, at least, and so therefore has strong ties with the police station, informed the family. It was that in-between person that informed the family that Tyler had been identified as the shooter. He recognized him. He knows Tyler. He gives them the heads up. And then I'm told, and I believe this, that the way in which he got arrested, or rather turned himself in, was because that family friend / neighbor / former detective told him, hey, it's best for you to turn yourself in because there's only one of two options here. Either you turn yourself in and everything is peaceable, or the SWAT team could come in here and arrest you and things would get crazy. So that's what happened. He went over to their house. Tyler was called over. Tyler was bewildered. He disputed the idea that he had murdered Charlie Kirk. In fact, according to my source, Tyler has never even stepped foot on UVU campus. Tyler, it turns out, which has already been revealed, was accepted into Utah State University, not Utah Valley. And that's actually interesting if you pause and reflect on that, because we didn't really consider how on earth Tyler became not just familiar with the layout of the campus, but familiar with the rooftop layout of UVU campus. So familiar that he knew exactly how to scale across the rooftops to duck down in order to take an almost impossible shot at a Charlie Kirk who was sitting beneath a tent. How did he know how to do all of that? Had he been there before? That he knew where Charlie was going to be sitting in it, that he would have that shot from on top of the Losey Center? What? Right? I would actually, and I don't know, but I would imagine that even actual current UVU students don't know that possibility. Like, they're not even that familiar with how to scale the rooftops and what shots they can take from it. We'll see.
Here's my question to you guys, right? Before we go into further video of CO. Here's my question. Because the source is telling her that he's never been on the UVU campus. In fact, he just was hearing that they were, blaming him. So he turned himself in. Here's my question to you guys, right? If, say, something catastrophic just happened, or someone was assassinated, and you looked similar to who they're trying to pin this on, and then they tried to pin it on you, put it on you, to the point where even your weapon was found, what would you do? Please put it in the comments. What would you do at that moment? Would you hide and wait for them to come find you? We know how that can get. Especially if the cops believe that you did what they're saying you did. Oh, guns drawn. Come out! All it takes is one person. He's got a gun! We know how that can get. Or would you quietly try to make yourself to the police department? That's what she's saying the source said Tyler did. I want to be very clear. That's what she's saying the source that she has said Tyler did. Heard that they were trying to pin this on him, quietly made his way to the police department. But she's saying to this day, he's saying he didn't do it. Interesting, we haven't seen him talk one time other than saying his name in court. Now the question may be, why did he turn himself in? He was scared. CO actually even goes over that in her latest episode.
So if you're wondering why exactly Tyler would agree to go to the police station if he's not guilty, ironically, the police were honest that day on one of the points. Well, first and foremost, that point is Tyler is not suicidal. He wanted to go to the police station so that he didn't risk accidentally getting shot by the police swarming his home, as I said earlier, in a theatrical arrest setting. But rather confusingly, Nate Brooksby tells us that Tyler is suicidal. Whatever. Let's just take a listen to what Nate Brooksby said after he had been apprehended. Take a listen.
So I get a call from my friend, and his said, "Hey, how you doing?" Good. And it's not, he's been retired a few years. We'll call each other. It's not unusual for me to get a call from him or vice versa. And at 8:02 p.m. he calls me. Hey, I can tell his voice is kind of shaky. So my first thought is, who died? Like who's he going to tell me that died? And then I couldn't fathom what actually came out of his mouth. So he said, "Hey, I know who Charlie Kirk's shooter is. I know the family through religious association, and he's in Washington County now, and we're working on trying to get him to come in voluntarily." During that phone call, some information was provided about Tyler potentially having some suicidal ideation.
Boom, there it is. That's why she continuously said on her story, Tyler Robinson is not suicidal. Because when he was caught, or when he turned himself in, this cop slipped that in there. You know, he's kind of suicidal. He has some suicidal.
Him to come in voluntarily. During that phone call, some information was provided about Tyler potentially having some suicidal ideations, was en route to a remote area of Washington County. The parents convinced him not to do that, and conveyed that they would stand by him and help him surrender peacefully.
I'm told that's not true. Tyler was not suicidal at all. He was just confused and didn't want to get shot. And then he gets to that part, right? He then tells us, Brooksby, that he came in willingly because he didn't want to die. Let's take a listen to that portion.
Within the hour, my friend drove Tyler and his parents to my office, where he was greeted by plainclothes detectives. So that was part of the deal. Is Tyler knew it was just inevitable with all the law enforcement pressure that his picture in the news, the gun on the news. He knew it was inevitable that he would be caught. He was fearful of a SWAT team hit on his house, or he was fearful of being shot by law enforcement. So part of the negotiation and getting him to bring himself in was that we would treat it as delicate and as soft as possible to make him feel comfortable to where he would show up at my office, and that's exactly what happened.
So he was fearful of the SWAT team coming to his house and him getting popped. He was afraid. He seen the evidence that they had on the TV and was afraid of them taking his life. But before that, he said that he had some suicidal ideations, indicating he would take his own life. Back and forth, back and forth.
It can't be both.
Oh.
It can't be both. Was he suicidal and wanting to die, or was he worried about dying? It can't be both. And I didn't catch on to that early on. The answer was he came in because he is not suicidal and did not want to get shot and was confused, as I am told. Now, you're probably wondering why the father and the mother didn't speak out to assert his innocence. That would make sense, right? Why don't you come right out and dispute everything immediately? Well, interestingly enough, I'm told that it's because the feds told them that if they spoke out, their lives could be at risk. Like they needed to keep things private, and they convinced the family to go into witness protection. Like, your lives are in danger. You shouldn't say anything. Somebody could just come back and try to harm you guys because of what your son did. You should go into witness protection and don't speak to anybody. Trust us, we're the feds, bro.
So they're trying to put fear in everybody's mind and everybody's heart. Fear, 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 fear. Listen, you shouldn't do this. They might get you. Listen, you shouldn't do that. They can come after you. For some reason, Candace don't care about none of that. She's still pushing right along. Just, hey guys, we got another episode today. I can't believe what happened. She's still pushing. You won't believe what we found out. Like, breathe in, looks healthy. Not afraid at all. Her friend got taken out and she's like, yo, I'm on it.
And they agreed, of course, in the fog of it all. Why wouldn't you agree? But then, like any good, maybe conservative family, you start going, I don't really trust these feds. Like, I'm a little suspicious about the feds. Here's another point of interest, okay? His father had no idea that Tyler was gay. That's what I'm told. They are learning this in and through the media. They thought that Lance was just his roommate, and they were especially shocked because apparently Tyler kept mentioning to them that he wanted them to meet some girl that he was seeing. Now, I would like to interject my own voice here and say that I think this girl was likely Lance, and Tyler was working up the courage to tell his family that he was gay. That is what is most likely, in my opinion, because we know for a fact that Tyler was, in fact, in a relationship with Lance, because we have exclusive photos, by the way, they're about to show you, that the two of them posted to their Instagrams. This is Lance posting Halloween era photos. I forgot to post. My boyfriend is the best. Love you. Don't worry, that handle has since been taken down of what Tyler's handle was, but he's got a handle that doesn't have his name in it, so he's maybe trying to hide this stuff. And then there's another photo of them. And this one's posted by Lance again, pics from when Tyler had a mustache. You can see that they were in a relationship. Just makes sense that he was working up the courage to maybe tell his family about that. Now, I was told also that Tyler is off the charts intelligent and always has been. We know this. He had a perfect GPA in high school. Now, that is precisely what made the idea of him being so stupid as to author a full confessional via text messages pointedly absurd. Like any person with a modicum of intelligence is going to go, I'm not going to put this down in writing with every detail. And apparently whoever offered those messages, likely feds, didn't have a modicum of intelligence or they would have maybe not included every single detail there. The family says that the photo of the young man that is coming up the stairs, which was shared, that blurry image, is definitively not Tyler.
Did you hear what she said? I just want to really did you hear what she said? Let's listen to it one more time.
Of intelligence, or they would have maybe not included every single detail there. The family says that the photo of the young man that is coming up the stairs, which was shared, that blurry image.
The family says that's not him. Not my source says the family said. No. The family. So whoever her source is in the family. The family said that's not Tyler. I know many of you were like, that don't really look like T. Let's not give him a nickname. I don't know who this is. I know a lot of y'all was saying that's not Tyler. Many people. But like the family? First of all, they said the dad turned him in. Family said that was a lie. Even Lance Twiggs' family said the front story doesn't sound valid. They don't believe it. That was Lance Twiggs' family. Now we're talking about Tyler Robinson's family. And they're like, yo, conservative family, father in law enforcement for over 20 years, mother a social worker. They're like, yo, this is a lie. What do people think about? Like people in the deep state, different individuals who plan these type of events. What do they be thinking about? Do they think that families just aren't going to just come out? I guess so. Maybe it hasn't happened in the past. Maybe it doesn't really happen often. Maybe they don't really run across Candace Owens. They don't really see Candaces a lot. Because I guarantee you, if she wasn't talking about this story the way she is, it would have been brushed over. I guarantee you. There was no Candace in the time of JFK. Or else it would have been something else. I guarantee they've been doing this for years, ladies and gentlemen, for years. This is the first time it's really being called out. That's why even Nancy Grace was saying this has never been done before. We have never heard an FBI director come out and say he's going to start looking into the conspiracy theories. Or what they want to call conspiracy theories, so we can believe it's a lie. So we can believe that we're crazy just thinking about conspiracies. Now, granted, many different people's thoughts may be left field. Granted. But for the most part, people have been on. Like, this is not what it's cooked up to be. This tastes a little different than what I'm used to. There's no season here. What's going on? This is something that is not cooked up to be. And people have been catching on to that. They've been putting on their aprons, going into the kitchen, tasting this stew, and telling themselves, this ain't it. Let's continue.
is definitively not Tyler Robinson. And let me just say, I never thought it looked like him. Neither did you. Okay. Face looks different. Face looks more narrow. Also, that person looks taller. Every time I say, I'm like, this person.
Neither did you. They tell you what they want you to believe, and you believe it. That's how the world's been operating forever, thousands of years. The higher elites say what's going to be thought, say what they want people to believe, and put in place different narratives. Nowadays, we have news stations that say the same exact thing. They repeat themselves. It's going on everywhere. We've showed this plenty of times. You guys know by now. At least the faithful viewers. You guys know by now. These news channels repeat themselves. Why? Brainwashing. They're brainwashing people. Hold on. God dang, because I don't think y'all hearing me. They're brainwashing people. That's how they brainwash people for you to believe things. CNN, ABC, MSNBC, they brainwash you to believe something that's clearly not true. They'll edit a lot of different clips. They'll show different things that isn't true. These are the same news stations that was showing CJ Stroud cutting out the part when he was saying Jesus Christ. He wanted to thank Jesus Christ. These are the same people who was cutting out the football players who wanted to thank Jesus Christ. They're wicked. They're devils. I really want you guys to know that. If you believe in people like that, understand whose side you're believing, what team you're believing. Because they're operating out of a higher source, from a higher source, getting their information, getting the things to say from a higher source, which isn't God. Trust me when I say this. The higher source is a person that has a person that ultimately gets to the devil. Just in case you guys didn't know who I was talking about when I'm saying higher source. It ultimately goes spiritual. It pops out of this physical realm, out of this physical plane, and it goes into the spirit realm. That's how higher sources operate. Even when it comes down to us in the kingdom. For somebody in the congregation, from them is a pastor. From a pastor, usually an apostle. From an apostle, God. It's always a higher source. And there's only going to be two. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? You're either on God's side or you're on the devil's side. You're either with good or you're with evil. The world is with evil. The world believes what they're being told. The world takes in what they're being told and actually believes it. The world gets pointed to a certain narrative and heads down that direction. The world eats these lies up. That's why the world was in a certain place where the world started believing that men could be women and allowed them to go into women's bathrooms. Us in the back of our mind, we always knew it was off and corrupt. You got Joe Biden having different interviews with Dylan Mulvaney, somebody who decided to be a woman 300 days before he interviewed with him. Talking about, so what are we going to do about the men's bathrooms and the women's bathrooms? These perverts! That is perversion. I don't know who's got in your head and lied to you. Made you believe this nonsense. For 4 years we were going down that road. Can you imagine another 4? Oh my goodness. It'd be unicorns in the street. We'd be riding on unicorns. But they wouldn't really be unicorns. They'd be people who bleached their skin different colors. And if we dared to say they weren't horses, we'd get in trouble. That's not a horse. That he just bleached his skin and stitched a horn in his head. What did you just say? Fine, $200,000. What the heck is going on? It would have been a whole circus out here. An executive bill had to be passed for us to understand there's only 2 genders in the world. What kind of nonsense? Okay. Oh, gosh. 2 sides. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 sides.
Is taller than Tyler Robinson. Tyler Robinson also appears to have full lips, even though this image is blurry. We're not looking for someone that got fuller lips, and Tyler Robinson looks broader than that individual walking, right? So I'm on board with that person walking up the stairs is not Tyler Robinson, because I feel like it was intentionally blurred. They also never gave us the footage at all, because in order to blur it, they probably needed a static image. Also, the family believes that, and this is really interesting, Tyler Robinson's apartment was staged after his arrest. Now, you will recall that I spoke to Lance's family. And one of the things that Lance's family said was, hey, we own that apartment. They pay rent to us. We've never met Tyler Robinson, but I can tell you that it seems like they were trying to hide the fact that this apartment got raided. And it's very strange that they immediately cleared Lance as a suspect. And I was told by other people in the department that they wanted to keep that raid very hush-hush. They didn't want anybody to know about the raid. There was no mention of this raid, and Lance immediately gets cleared as a suspect. Why? Well, according to Tyler's family, they went to that apartment after his arrest, and they felt the apartment was staged, and that intentionally in Tyler's room, a furry bed was placed, almost sort of implying that they're trying to transfer the attributes of Lance onto Tyler. And that's shady. But again, when I put together what I'm being told by Lance's family and what I'm hearing from the Robinson family through a third party, I will say that it matches. It kind of seems like they're agreeing. One family's going, hey, Lance is kind of evil. Why is he getting cleared? And the other one's going, Tyler's not this guy. Tyler is not this guy, so what the hell is going on, guy?
So she's pretty much saying that the authorities are trying to act like Tyler's character is what Lance's character actually is. That's pretty much what's being said here. A very interesting take. We are going to get into a new lead that Candace really brought to the table within this last episode she just did. And it has to do with a guy named Phil Lyman. Suspicious Phil is what we're going to call him, chat. Suspicious Phil. This individual has been all over the place. Maybe trying to track footsteps. Maybe trying to make sure stuff is not said, or who knows. I mean, it got weird what she said about this individual. We're going to show you 2 more clips. Okay? And it's going to be pertaining to this individual right here. Not only him, but his nephews. One of them, who looks very similar to the picture that they blurred. Let's check out what she had to say about Suspicious Phil, the new guy on the scene. Somebody that nobody was really paying attention to, but he had to insert himself in many different ways. Now, a lot of eyes is on him. Check this out.
So something very strange happened this weekend, and I need to tell you. I need to tell you guys about it. I need to offload this and get your opinion. Now, first and foremost, I have to tell you about this student who I'm going to refer to as Nick. Nick is not his real name. I'm going to refer him as Nick to protect his identity, obviously. I came across Nick very early on in this investigation. In fact, you might recall when I shared a photo online of a person that looked suspicious. He was wearing like a black suit and black glasses, and he seemed to have a strap hanging out of his bag. Here he is right here, and he was in the food court. I shared that photo because Nick had sent it to me into our tips box and said, this person looks rather mysterious. He's running through the food court. And from there, he kind of became my boots on the ground. He was like, hey, I go to UVU. I'm a major Candace Owens fan. I want to help in any way that I can. Okay. So that's how that happened. That was really, and right away, he told me on like day 2 of the investigation that he worked on Phil Lyman's gubernatorial campaign. Phil Lyman ran against the current Governor Cox, and he lost. And one day, very early on, this must have been like day 3, Nick cold calls me, and Phil Lyman's on the phone. Okay. Like I said, he ran for governor, and I was prepping for the show, and things were early on, and I was still in a very aggrieved phase, and I didn't really know I was on the phone with this guy, Phil Lyman, and I was like, okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that you're offering help. And Nick insisted to me, he's a fantastic person. He has tons of resources. He knows the area. If you need any help, he can help you. Okay, great. fast forward to me looking into the witness list, and obviously we spoke about this Tiffany Peterson Barker, that very weird clip of her with her nieces at like 4 a.m. in the morning, just speaking on Good Morning America, and her energy was just weird to me. I thought her being there was weird. Obviously, this is my podcast. I can say whatever I want. We reached out to her, and then she gave us a ton of information, but never actually presented to us. She never sent me directly any footage that could verify that she was there when Charlie Kirk got shot, okay? And she was a bit upset that I didn't clarify that. I thought it was weird that she wouldn't just text me the footage because it didn't allow me to confirm that she was where she said she was. That's what metadata is for. Metadata instantly will say, here's where you were, at what time, and this is this person's iPhone. So I wasn't gonna lie to my audience. I just told you guys, hey, you can check her out on her Instagram. Here's her excuse. She says that this is why her nieces said that, and we sort of moved on, right? But then I learned from Nick that the photo of the person who was wearing that black suit and dark sunglasses had come from Tiffany Barker's mother. I was like, well, that's weird, whatever. And then you'll recall we learned from Tiffany when I was trying to figure out, how did you get this hit on Good Morning America? Like, did you share something that would have had them reach out? Well, then I told you, she told us, actually, Phil Lyman is the person that put me on Good Morning America. My sister ran with him as lieutenant governor. And I was like, oh, okay. So Phil Lyman got you that position.
Phil Lyman sounds like he got a lot of connections. A lot of connections. And you know what's crazy is, now, not saying it's Phil, but different people can have connections to the point where they reach out to individuals and get them to hide certain things.
Good Morning America. You had essentially a connection there that made that happen. Don't know how I missed this, but then I learned that Phil Lyman himself was very involved in all of the communications that immediately went out about the shooting, and that his car was in the driveway of the now infamous TMZ footage, which showed the shooter walking twice that day by this house. In fact, Phil Lyman says that he had just pulled into that driveway minutes earlier and had just missed the shooter. Here he is in his own words speaking to Kayleigh McEnany. Take a listen.
I do want to linger on a moment for what you just told us, and I'm going to ask the team to pull back up that surveillance footage that we've gotten from TMZ, from those neighborhood cameras. You said that in that footage is your driveway, and you parked there at 11:30 a.m. We know this footage that you're looking at was taken at 11:49 a.m. So you would have been on that street, that driveway, 19 minutes.
Right across. Yeah, it's not my driveway, it's my aunt's driveway. Parking lot was very full. He's walking in front of my aunt's house there right now. And my cousin's house is the driveway that is taking that photo. And my CRV, the gray CRV in the distance there, that is my car. I parked there probably 10 minutes before he walked by. And I had not seen this footage till just now. And it just keeps, so many things that keep linking up. It's really astonishing to me. And then we went back to this house afterwards. They thought they had the shooter. So I took a friend of mine, we went back to my aunt's house and said, well, we'll just hang out here for a while. And before long, the people were combing the backyard. As you saw, she had the footage of that. And pretty soon helicopters are overhead. And so this is very, very local to me. Not only is it Utah, but it's kind of my neighborhood where I spent so much of my childhood and all of my relatives. Yeah. This is really astonishing. I got up yesterday morning at 6 o'clock to drive up and meet Charlie, and I haven't been to bed since then, because it's just one thing after another, and so astonishing that this could happen in Utah.
Now, just to be clear and to reiterate, 19 minutes before the shooter walks across, he had just pulled into the driveway. Phil Lyman pulled into the driveway. He says that he saw Charlie Kirk that day. We're going to get to that. Also, when he says he grew up there. And his family owns, we were able to determine 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 homes right there. incredible. Okay. Absolutely incredible. And that his little press tour, obviously now you're like, explaining your car was in the driveway. So the issue's close to him. That kind of makes sense. Then he went on to Alex Jones and spoke about where he was when the shot rang out. And what's kind of, and I'm laughing here because it's kind of absurd, he kind of sort of blames it on these two random goth girls, maybe. Like he's kind of implying like there were these girls that were wearing black and maybe they should be taken a look at further. Take a listen.
Just yesterday, someone comes in and he says, we've got video. He came off the roof. He came up here to the parking lot, got in the car with an individual and they drove away. Well, that's not the story that came, so that he escaped another route. And there are people who are coordinating this thing. I do not believe that 30-06 that they showed recovered in the bushes was ever on the roof. I think it was in the bushes to start with. And now I'm not saying that Tyler Robinson wasn't on the roof. I'm not saying he didn't pull a trigger. I know I was in very, very close proximity. So another interesting thing, like I say, I left the front of the stage. I wanted to meet some of my friends and bring them down front. So I was clear at the east end and I heard this loud boom. I heard this loud bang. And I turned around and I'm looking like, what was that? What was that? And pretty soon some people started, running. Everyone was trying to process. And I thought, this is a gunshot and there's going to be more of them. I thought it could turn into.
This dude, interesting thing is he's quick to go on every show, every chance he can get on it. Not only that, but he seems to be the one that's reaching out because he reached out to Candace. Not only that, but the next clip we're going to get to is what's really going to be suspicious. But this is just showing who Phil Lyman is, showing the different things that the different shows he's gotten on, and his different stories, how they're different.
The mass shooting. So I go to the people closest to me. Everyone's ducking down behind the concrete retaining walls, and some of them were still kind of oblivious, but there were two people that were standing there. Two girls, very goth, very black, and I just walked, and I stepped up to the side of them, and I said, did that not happen right here? Did you hear that? Was that right here? And they said, yeah, it was just right over there. So they're confirming, yeah, the shooter or wherever that sound came from is right here. The thing that didn't really dawn on me is that they were not running. They were not frightened. In fact, as I stepped up, I heard one of the girls, and they were talking to each other, and they're looking at these kids, looking at the scene down below them of all these people fleeing for their lives. And she says, go F yourselves. Like I say, I was not processing that. I was trying to figure out what was going on. I thought this is a separate conversation. I don't know what it is. In hindsight, as I've watched that over and over, it's like these people were not afraid.
Okay, so what I get from that is he was up high because he says they're looking down below, and that maybe people that are wearing black are immediately suspects. I don't know, because they were not afraid. Anyways, he also went on to a local Utah news station and spoke about how he was with Charlie just before Charlie went onto stage. Take a listen.
Phil, thanks for joining us, first of all. But I saw a picture. I saw a picture of you with Charlie Kirk, and it looks like you were like maybe right before he went on stage. Is this just like minutes before this happened?
Yeah, no, I was basically backstage, and when he came out, was throwing the hats. I was there. I was standing next to the stage, and I would have been there when the shooting took place. But I needed to go meet some of my friends, and I didn't want to just hang around. So there's a part of me that's glad that I wasn't in close proximity, and part of me that feels bad that I wasn't there, just in some form of moral, presence.
If Phil was there, wouldn't he be one of the? I mean, not saying he wasn't there, but the fact that he was there. This is the same people or that Candace was talking about earlier when she was like, why am I the only one investigating this? Why am I the only one looking into this further? Clearly things are off. And people who were there for sure know things are off.
And support is such a tragic thing.
When I combine those clips, I'm kind of unclear as to where he was exactly when the shots rang out, if he was close or if he felt bad that he wasn't close. Anyways, he went onto Instagram that night as Tiffany was prepping her Good Morning America hit, I suppose. And he speaks further about what he was doing back onto campus and what exactly he remembers. Take a listen. Again, this is on September 10th. and it's around 11:30 p.m. at night.
Hey, it's September 10th, 2025, and I was just heading back from Salt Lake to Blanding. I'm getting a very late start. It's about 11:30 at night, and I wanted to swing back by UVU campus where Charlie Kirk was killed today and see if I could let a few of the police officers know how much I appreciate the work they're doing, see if there's some college students here that I could rub shoulders with, more for my benefit than for theirs. But what I really wanted to share was I was very close this morning where Charlie Kirk was at, met him backstage, and we talked for a moment before he went on stage, and I was backstage as he started speaking, then decided to go up top, and I went up to the top, and ironically was very close to where the shooter was. Apparently, the shot was very loud, and I determined pretty quickly that whoever it was on the roof, and it was a 200-yard kill shot.
So he wants to make it clear that whoever shot was definitely on the roof. In other words, it was for sure Tyler. It was for sure on the roof. It was for sure where they said it was.
Where was he? I don't know. I find this to be a little weird, but look, let's be clear. By no means conclusive of anything other than perhaps a strange coincidence. And maybe this is why he feels so impassioned and wants to keep speaking about it. Also, he's a gubernatorial candidate. Makes sense. This would be a political moment to show that you're a leader. And look, life is not exactly an Agatha Christie novel, right? Where the guilty party somehow inserts himself into the investigation. So I park that aside. I keep pushing and I'm following more public leads. But also, I do recall in the back of my mind that both Phil and Tiffany Barker, and as it would turn out, another person that lives on that street with the last name Shumway, kept trying to get me to look into Governor Cox because he's, according to Tiffany, very supportive of the trans stuff. You should look into, Tiffany said, into Governor Cox. And similarly, the Shumway emails were like, you should look into this Governor Cox because he likes trans. So they're open and close. That feels to me always just like Fed bait, left versus right? He likes trans people, so it has to be him. Okay, oddly, look, I'm just following the facts here. Nothing in my investigation has made me ask a question further about Governor Cox on that day. Nothing came up organically, so I'm not going to push it just because he's a Democrat. And actually, where I was at this process, what's that? Pushing that because Governor Cox is his, sorry, I said Democrat because he's his, he's warring with him. And that's the candidate that he wants to go after. And I actually start noticing as I'm looking into this investigation that everyone who was involved on that day, I mean, literally the person who spots the shooter on the roof, military, the person who says, I just happened to be in the right place in the Flag of Halls where I saw him running, also in the military. And I'm starting to think, is it possible that this is like a military hit?
A military hit. Interesting enough how somebody who was eyewitness seen somebody running in tactical gear as well. However, this last clip I'm going to show you guys is where Phil gets turned into suspicious Phil. Because right there it showed a lot of different clips, him on different news stations, him on different platforms, saying this, saying that, him talking by the school as he walked back over there. And, I'm just over here making sure the cops are doing a good job. I want to tell them how good they're doing. Here's where Phil turns into suspicious Phil. Okay? This last clip we're going to play.
Insane happens. Nick calls me, and he's a little bit undone.
For those who don't know, Nick is a young dude who she changed his name to Nick for his safety. Nick is a young dude who's been talking to Candace, helping Candace in different things. They've been working together in different ways as far as this case and this investigation goes. So Nick ends up meeting Phil. Check this out.
Insane happens. Nick calls me, and he's a little bit undone. He tells me that Phil Lyman has just showed up at his house. Now, I want to be very clear. Nick is 20 years old. He's a 20-year-old UVU student and a major super fan of Phil as of 48 hours ago. And he's very uncomfortable, and he tells me that Phil randomly messaged him saying that he was nearby in town rather, and asked Nick for his address, something that he never had. And Nick, quite naively, and being this Phil super fan, thinks that Phil's going to come and offer him a job because he's been so on it, investigating this Charlie Kirk assassination. And that's not what happens at all. Instead, he says that he shows up, he opens the door for him, and his energy is very weird. And he's asking him weird questions. He's looking out of the window nervously. He sits down at the table. He's asking him questions about my investigation. I'm like, I shared nothing with Nick. I literally was asking him, can you go here, pick up this, whatever it is. And he is thinking this is getting weird. I said, what specifically did he say to you? Well, he tells me that Phil has also set up a time to meet with Ian Carroll. Okay, so Ian Carroll is conducting his own separate investigation. We are not collaborating at all. But Ian Carroll publicized that he was going up to Utah because he wanted to be on the ground physically by himself. And he was reaching out to people that who had been speaking about having been there. And Phil Lyman is so gracious that he offers to give him a tour. And Nick tells me, he's like, that's really weird now because we're like 2 weeks on from this shooting, and Phil Lyman lives 4 hours away. So that's very, very gracious of him to do, but his energy isn't good. And then he mentions Governor Cox, and he mentions Tyler Boyer of Turning Point USA, and says that, again, this is according to Nick, that Tyler Boyer and the Lyman have been speaking, and that they're, really going to make Governor Cox, and I'm paraphrasing here, but apparently there's another Utah event, USU event coming up, and Governor Cox is supposed to speak. And Phil Lyman intimates that, this TPUS event, Governor Cox isn't going to look great.
He isn't going to look great. So predicting something that's going to happen. Sounds similar? Sounds familiar? Predicting something that is going to happen. Oh, yeah, he's not going to look great. That was coming up. This event that's coming up, Governor Cox is not going to look great.
I'm like, what? He then tells him, I'm going to go, if you don't mind, I'm going to take a phone call in my car. So he's just idling in a 20-year-old's driveway who just happened to work on his campaign, and he's on the phone. And he's why he's calling me panicking. He's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what's happening. I don't know why he's being so weird. I don't know why he's asking me questions about this investigation. And I'm like, yeah, this is weird. This is very weird. So then I'm like, I'm honing in here. I'm like, what's going on? I feel like he knows something at the very least. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I feel. And I begin actually searching through our tips box for anything related to Phil Lyman. Maybe somebody else noticed something or knew something or he said something. And lo and behold, very early on, someone just messaged us and said, hey, you should probably ask more questions about Phil Lyman, because every time I look into this investigation locally, him and his family members are popping up. And then that person tells me that his nephew had sort of done this public tour, Phil Lyman's nephew did this public tour saying that he was going to walk the same route that the shooter walked near his grandmother's house, and that they found, you guys remember this, they found the Converse footprint nearby his grandma's house. And he presented a map. This is it. This is
So you just found a Converse footprint in the dirt. Bruh. This can't be real. This can't be real. I never even seen this, guys. I don't know if you seen this. So his nephew decided to walk the same route that Tyler Robinson walked. Who knows how wide that field is? They just happened to be exactly where he was walking, though. And how long after did they go there? Because as soon as the shot rang out, supposedly cops were all around there. So there'd be all kind of different footsteps. So you telling me out of all those footsteps in the dirt, you seen this out of nowhere and said to yourself, it's got to be a Converse. Guys, I'm no piranha, but this seems fishy fishier than fishy. You found the Converse print in the dirt, bro. You should have left this one alone. You should have hushed up, be quiet, sat down. Nobody was worried about you. Now suspicious Phil seems like he's hiding something. The nephew's off.
From his Instagram, he presents this map, and his nephew's name is Shane. And this was all public. I'm only looking at things publicly. And let's just look at some of these posts from nephew Shane. I mean, first and foremost, he's with his friends. Said, I took my friends to my grandma's house tonight, and we retraced his steps, and we took pictures in the exact place that the security cameras caught him. I've been through this new experience for the last few days. I'm still very glad to have attended and to support Charlie Kirk and to see him. The last pic shows Converse brand footprints. And then he does hashtags, and here are him and the three friends. And by the way, I'm looking at the front on the right, and I'm like, I don't know. I'd like to know who that is at the very least. And I'd like to know who everybody in this photo is. This is just interesting. Like, you guys are in the staircase and posting side-by-sides. Like, they put these side-by-side photos of them in the staircase. And I just was like, I need to just know more about you, and I need to know more about these two individuals who I couldn't find on his friends list. And they certainly hadn't liked the photo, or else I would have messaged.
Can't quite put my finger on it. I can't quite put my finger on it. How, like, no, forget that. We're going to talk about it. How creepy, how strange. This is like right after, not too long, maybe not the same day, I'm not too sure, but she went to the same staircase and took a picture for what, bro? For what? Like, how weird. Like, come on, y'all. Come on, we right by where he was. Click. What are you doing, dude? Who does that? Who does that? And then stitches the picture with who's supposed to be Tyler Robinson. Or if we could just say who's supposed to be the person who did this. Who thinks about that? I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's me. I'm looking too into it. I'm thinking too much about it. I'm like, maybe it's me. Guys, maybe it's me. You know what? Let's just keep pushing. This is just off. Way too off to me. I can't even wrap my mind around it. I can't. What in the world were you thinking about? First of all, you went into dirt where many different shoe prints are. You took a photo. Who do y'all think y'all are? Forensic Files? Like, what's going on here? First 48? Like, y'all just out, like, what the heck is going on? You got your friend looking suspicious because he looks like the doggone person on the left more than even Tyler Robinson does. If we're being completely honest, what were you thinking about?
Them directly to figure out who they are. And yeah, I found that very strange. And so I messaged Nick and I asked him whether or not he had ever received any images or videos from Phil directly. At the very least, we can see his line of vision so I can figure out where exactly he was when the shots ran out. And I'm wondering if we can maybe get some footage that we didn't have before when the shots ran out. And also, by the way, metadata is king. That's kind of been it's good to see because then I can put it in my timeline. That's why I love metadata. I can say this exactly happened at this time. Strangely, Phil kind of freaks out. He doesn't want to share those photos with Nick. And he asks him explicitly, whose side are you on? Whose side are you on? I thought we were all on the same side. We're all trying to catch Charlie Kirk's killer one way or the other. You inserted yourself into this, got on the phone with me. I was not even trying to make any communication with you. I literally am just asking questions. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, you don't want to answer any questions. You don't want to share anything. And he tells me that yesterday, Phil Lyman just calls him and he shouts at him. Like, who the F do you think you are, kind of a deal? You know what I mean? Like, who are you to ask me for anything? I already gave my photos to Taylor Hanson. And so at that point, I was like, look, you've been great, Nick, but I don't want you being shouted at. I don't want you feeling comfortable in your own home. I would like you to just remove yourself entirely from the boots on the ground elements of this investigation. I don't think Phil is acting in a way that I perceive to be stable, given the fact that, again, he inserted himself in this investigation and we're asking, this is my car on the street. Okay, you want to be helpful. We're asking you to be helpful. And now all of a sudden you're showing up at 20-year-old's house and you're being weird. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And I said I could reach out to Phil directly by myself. And I did. I reached out to both Phil and I reached out to his nephew, Shane. And I asked for them to identify the guys in that photo. Like I said, I was interested in who those individuals were because I couldn't find it on his friend list. And in response, Shane immediately takes his profile private. And Phil Lyman, leaves me on red. So I am now left in the predicament where I need to just ask the public, if you are one of those two kids that are in the photos there, I would love to ask you some questions since you publicized this tour. I mean, they even did the full video walking through where he walked. And, you know, he said, my uncle, he posted Phil Lyman. So my uncle was with Charlie. This is the video that they posted. Everything was done publicly. And now I'm like, okay, you could maybe you have something that's helpful. I want to ask you about, could you send me that photo? Could you send me that video? Could you send me all of this stuff? And now I'm getting radio silence. So unfortunately, because I need to figure out what happened on that day, I'm turning to the public to try to identify those people and anything else that you may know that may help put things together.
So these kids publicized the whole journey that they went on, going back to where Tyler walked and where Tyler talked, took pictures, took video. But once they were reached out to from Candace Owens, he decided to put his page private. Phil Lyman decided to just leave her on red. Suspicious Phil. Suspicious Shane. That's off. The whole journey is off. You going back and looking at this and looking at is off. Taking pictures. Well, let me not say going back and looking at different places and trying to. That's not too much off. Because people want to investigate. That's understandable. But you taking pictures and smiling in the photos and taking pictures on the ground and what you said was a Converse print could have put there easily. Off. What I'm happy about is Kash Patel saying that he's going to look further into the investigation. And you could just pray that Kash Patel is reliable. That's all you can, man. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you guys. It's hard to trust different people who are in higher position. It's been so much corrupt things going on for decades. It's like, my Lord, when are there going to be reliable people who really love America, who are really trustworthy, who are really on the side of the people? You could just pray, this is one of those individuals. That's it. May justice be served. Hallelujah. May the Lord continue to bring light where we can see it. Amen. And we can make our own opinions about it. Pray that it lines up to the point where justice is actually served. And if this kid is innocent, if this Tyler Robinson kid is innocent, the people who put him in this position are sick. Not only sick, they're demonic. There's no way a human being in their right mind would want to do this to a child. This kid is 22? This is a baby. You're sick. If this kid is innocent, you're sick. And may the Lord bring light to the darkness. May those who are really behind this be taken in, and not some child. Amen. Amen. May the Lord keep shedding light. For those who all come into agreement, put amen in the comments. Put amen in the chat. Put amen in the chat. Hallelujah. 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 I love you guys. Till next time, God bless. Shalom.